Okay, so welcome to the Business Spotlight series, which is where we talk to local businesses, exploring some of the lessons that they've learned in business, the challenges they've overcome, and some of the opportunities that they've seized over the years of being in business. And today on the show, we're joined by Georgia and Siân from RME Consultants. How are you guys today? You all right?
Good, very good, thanks. Yeah. How are you?
But yeah, very well, thank you, very well. Listen, first of all, thank you very much for taking the time out your busy day to join us on the series. It'd be great if you can just kick us off by just telling us a little bit about what it is that you actually do. What is RME Consultants? What do you do?
So RME Consultants actually stands for Recruitment Made Easy, and we are a recruitment agency, consultancy as such, that specialise in early years and education recruitment, and then also specialise in commercial recruitment. So anything office based is probably the easiest way to put it. And we are nationwide.
Okay. And how long have you guys been running for? Because you're both the co-founders of the business. How long ago was it set up?
We actually launched on Independence Day, didn't we? Yeah, randomly. I didn't even mean to, but it was very.
Was that by default? Yeah, it was by accident rather than default. That's quite nice. That's quite a nice.
That way, yeah. 2019. Yeah. So we've been going for 6 years.
Fantastic. I bet you said a bit of growth and some challenges along the way. So in terms of the size of the business, you're national now. How big's the business? How team size and things like that?
So in terms of kind of the structure of the team, so we're a team of 9. We've got essentially, like Siân said, 2 different departments. So Siân oversees the education arm, which is teaching nurseries, heavily temporary recruitment based. So it's a lot of on-call, last-minute queries. It's very, very fast-paced. And then I oversee the commercial arm, which is I'd say a lot more slower paced in terms of we need somebody to start on a permanent basis. They're a long-term employee. But again, we're quite fast in that department as well. So that is anything from kind of marketing, HR, finance. And yeah, we've got 4 people in each department. And then we also have a finance and office manager who keeps us all in check. Very much operations, business support, helps us with admin, because as you probably know, salespeople hate admin. So it very much helps us with that part of the business. So yeah, a team of 9 as it stands.
Funny enough, I've just been doing a bit of admin with my assistant this morning, and I'm terrible at the admin side of it. So I trust somebody to keep it in check, don't you, and make sure you do those bits and pieces and things.
Yeah, ticking the boxes, dotting the I's, the worst part of the job, but yeah, it's got to be done. So yeah, Relaine helps us out with that massively. Runs our payroll as well. Naturally, with all of the temps we have out, we've obviously got to pay them. So it's all of the back office function with that as well. So yeah, team of 9 as it stands, very much wanting to grow and expand.
So I'm interested then, how do you guys get into A, recruitment, and B, actually start a business together? Were you in business before? Were you in recruitment before?
That's a story actually about how we you want to crack on with the story? I started recruitment 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and fell into it. I think most people do. Started doing early years recruitment, absolutely loved it. I think I was there for a couple of years, and then we needed to recruit. So I went on good old LinkedIn, found Georgia, messaged, and we met up at a Costa in Tesco's of an evening for an interview to just work with our diaries.
You were working for another company this time, or was this your own company?
So we were both previously working. Well, yeah, you were working for one company, I was working for another. Gotcha. Siân was in like a management position, so was recruiting for her team. Headhunted me on LinkedIn. Yeah, we met for Costa. 4 hours later, we come out to our phones just with family, partners panicking where we were, because an interview doesn't really take that long. We've met online as well, which doesn't sound great. Quite a few family members and friends, to be honest. And we just hit it off, didn't we? We found we were so similar. And I know people say chalk and cheese work, but we've just, I think we're cheese and cheese. We do love cheese as well, so that helps. So yeah, we started working together at the company I was at, and then I got headhunted to go to another company. Georgia then ended up coming over to that company, so we worked together for a little bit there, and then we both were just we worked together for, I would say, in total about a year or more, and we were just like, let's go do this on our own. Like, we've got so many ideas to give, and we wanted to be our own bosses essentially. So we thought we'd make our own.
So there's a lot of people going to be listening to this that are kind of in that employment position. They're good at their industry, and taking that step to becoming a business owner is quite a big one, isn't it? So what?
Huge.
Well, 2 questions, I guess, there really. What was the prompt? What actually made you like, we're going to do this? We're going to make a run for it. What was the sort of thing that really made you do it? And then Second part of the question is, do you regret it? Has it been worth it?
I'd say for me, what sticks out is we actually, I can visually see us, I don't know if you remember, sat in a car park in your car outside. The company we're working for had 2 offices, and one of them was a satellite office in Oxford in the business park. And we were both sat in the car, and I think we'd have this idea, we'd sit on LinkedIn, a company that can help you set a business up. And I was looking at it, I said, oh, we should just do it, like it seems like, we could just message them and see if they can help us. And we did that. We just popped them a message, and we were sat outside. We didn't want to go back in. I think we'd gone for a Costa Classic. And we were just sat in your car thinking, oh, I don't really want to go back in. Should we just contact them? And we did. And then they reached out to us and kind of booked a call in from that point. But we were kind of like, we want to do it, but it was, where do we go? How do we set it up? And luckily we'd sit online at, a company that can help recruitment agencies set up. Are you a top biller working for a consultancy that wants to go and open your own business? It's very much the sales pitch we'd sit in, and I'd sent it to you a couple of times, and it was just like, should we do it? And I remember sitting in the car doing the message. You remember being in the car?
I do now. When you said it. You've got to believe in yourself, I think. That's the biggest thing, because everyone we spoke about, I'm not saying everyone, most people we spoke to, are you sure? Are you sure? If you've got financial commitment, that's a huge risk. And this was 6 months before COVID shuts down.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, are you really sure? So we're like, yeah. And we firmly believed that we would be fine. And I think the fact that we had each other to bounce off, even when the pandemic hit, we never worried. I think it was just that concept, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just manifest. And
I think as well, it helps being in business with somebody. I think even when it was the down days of 6 months opening, we initially opened, and we were 2 very young, naive women going around business parks with croissants, which, looking back now, you can't do that nowadays, because what if they have things that, you just can't go and take food in bags and start giving them to people. It's just not the done thing. But we naively did that, and people were really receptive, because it was, fair enough, they're trying to make something for themselves. So to begin with, we started just going out and door knocking. Then COVID struck quite quickly. We then started to get back a lot of our old clients that we were in covenants with, that we couldn't work with. But the minute they gave us a new vacancy to work on, it was shutdown time, because it was COVID. So we then got a little bit worried. But I think because we've had each other, and I was responsible for Siân paying her bills, Siân was responsible for me paying my bills. Between the two of us, it's like we can't let each other down. No. We've got each other to be accountable for. And throughout that kind of COVID summer, COVID spring, we laid very low. We did a lot of cost cutting. I think luckily, because we didn't have that many overheads, we were in that position where, if we were working for a company, we probably would have been made redundant. So we were kind of responsible for our own fate. Let's make sure we can keep our costs down, try and get as much money in. The whole world's on stops. We just have to ride it. Yeah. And we did. We just sailed through. And I remember the one call we got when we knew we were back on track again. We kind of took a couple of months off, thinking, well, we can't furlough ourselves. We're not technically employed. We don't exist to HMRC at the minute. So nothing we can do. So we started doing a little bit of business development. I remember this one client called me. I was in B&M, and they called me and they said, I've just seen your email about the customer service role we're recruiting for. And I was kind of caught off guard, but you never get people call you, even nowadays, you don't really. And I said, oh gosh, yeah, no, are you still recruiting? And they said, yeah, we actually need 10 people to start Monday.
Oh, wow.
I remember saying to my friend, I'm really sorry, I've got work to do. So I called Siân. I said, we need to recruit. I've completely forgotten how we recruit. And I remember being sat at the kitchen table, and we've got to find 10 people for Monday. And we did, and that was a really big contract of ours, and that then spurred us on track. Yeah, massively.
So it sounds like, obviously having the two of you in it together, there's a lot of energy there. I can see that. You can get that comes across on the screen. So there's a lot of support for each other, a bit of accountability, like you say, not wanting to let each other down.
Yeah.
Working, and there are a lot of benefits of being in business with a partner. What are some? Because there are also some challenges, some risks around it. What sort of things have you put in place to make sure that you stay aligned, that you stay in tune with each other, and you're not sort of trying to go in different directions?
I'd say, when we initially set up a shareholders agreement, which we definitely recommend especially if you're in a partnership or, a three-way partnership, whatever it may be, definitely getting a shareholder agreement, because it's there for if we need to refer to things. And also, I think it protects our relationship. Yeah. If there are things that come up, we've agreed to this when we first opened the business. So the emotion is taken out. If anything needs to, if there's a decision that needs to be made, that shareholder agreement is what we refer to. And it then just, I think, makes things easy, and it's less confrontational. If there's something that crops up, we've agreed to that is what stands. Yeah. And it also helps as well that we're such similar people. We actually don't really every time we have an idea, the other one, chances are we've thought of it an hour before, an hour after. Like, we're always weirdly on the same page with things.
Yeah. I think honesty and just transparency as well. I think where we work so closely together, and especially when it was just us two, you are in each other's pockets. It's like starting another relationship. You have to be honest. And if one of you's feeling a bit down or a bit worried about anything, or there's an idea you want to bounce around, it's just maybe, and the other one's not as invested in it, it's just saying, I'm not sure about that right now. And it's coming back to things. It's not taking anything personally, because it's business. You both want it to do well. So touch wood.
Yeah.
We've been okay.
Yeah. I think the downsides will be any negatives. I would say, because we are so close as well, we don't either one of us want to let each other down. You know, recruitment is such a roller coaster. When things are going right, it's going so well. When things go wrong, it goes so wrong. So it's where we have different departments as well. The only negative is having someone in business is you don't want to let them down. It's having that responsibility. When it's just yourself, it's if things aren't going so right, you know, it is just yourself that you've got to either blame or you know, to let down. I can't, you know, I have to perform in the business because I'm also making sure that Sian has a nice life as well. I don't want to let her down, her family down. So it's having that accountability, which is a negative, but it also I think is a good thing, because it means you go on track. Yeah,
you certainly seem to have recognised the sort of benefits of doing it and latching onto those. I think you're right. The shareholder agreement, whilst it's, you know, it's a legal thing, there's an expense attached to it. A lot of people overlook that because of it, because it's like too rigid. But actually having it in place, should you need it, is a real safety net, isn't it? It's very often overlooked, that bit. It's like, oh, we don't need that. We're all right. We're best mates. We don't need that bit.
Until you need it and you really have it. Whereas, I mean, chances are it only comes up once every now and then when big decisions are being made. But then it's thank God you had it, because you then have something to refer to. It can be just, you know, read, agreed, ticked on, and on to the next thing, rather than, oh, what do we do in this scenario? Both got, you know, different views on it.
There's a lot of positivity. I can feel that from say talking to you guys. But you know, most people at some point will have some form of imposter syndrome, or you know, some you know, belief issues and things like that. Have you, over the last, you know, what's it, 6-7 years, has there been any of that sort of self-doubt, that imposter syndrome, some of those areas of, oh, I don't believe in myself at the moment?
Got to be,
we had a real bottom moment, actually.
We went on huge contracts on the early years and education side after COVID, and a lot of agencies really peaked, and we did extremely well. And what that meant was our headcount went from really 3 or 4 of us to nearly 20 in the space of a year. But our letdown was we didn't have the infrastructure in place internally to support that. So we had no HR, we had no systems in place to monitor performance. We had no internal training. So we were very much like, and we were younger at this point as well. We were very much like, right, let's get people in that have got that sort of enthusiasm, want to do recruitment, you know, and mirror how we are, and we'll do great. And it was, I think we were in Cloud Quickly Land, and we hired a lot of people, and it was very much like, we've got the contracts. They weren't needing to sell, they just needed to resource. And we rode the way, and we did extremely well, and our social media was on point, and we were the go-to agency, and we were like, we've smashed this, we've nailed it.
We've got people knocking at the door coming to work.
Yes. But it created where we didn't have infrastructure like internal training. We were office-based. Me and Georgia, I think, looking back now, are like, oh, I can't believe we used to do things that way. And not just even management style and everything. We
were micromanagers.
We were real,
It was everything we said we wouldn't be. And we left our business because we wanted to be flexible. And when we first set up RME, it was, we're working at Victor's in Oxford, we're working here, we've got flexibility, you know, we're all enjoying life. And then when we became so big, we were then turning into what we didn't want to be. We were clock watching, people being late, you know, someone's had 4 coffees in the last hour, they can't be doing their job. And it was horrible. It was horrible.
It was a very toxic work environment that naturally then was created. And then in turn, we would start losing staff. The turnover started to increase, reputation obviously locally. And we were very much like, how do we change this? But once there is a culture set to a certain standard, or you've got employees in that company that aren't happy, you've got to do a lot of work to get that back. And then what unfortunately then started to happen was the early years sector changed significantly with certain legislation and ratios and things like that. And it meant then that the need and the demand reduced significantly. So we actually made the decision to scale back from that headcount right back to basics and cut our headcount by 50% to actually reinvest in the company, in employee engagement, just restructuring how we work,
analysing everything. We at one point weren't even analysing. I think our profit increased so much, but so had our overheads. And now we're at a third in terms of what our overheads cost us. But we would never have done that sort of exercise because we were just riding the wave. We weren't thinking our profit was decreasing, even though our turnover was increasing.
Because we were too in the moment of the growth and just celebrating how great it looked, when actually now we've got it so nailed, we feel, in terms of the employees, the engagement, how happy our team are. We've had people that have left us and come back
too, actually,
which was our biggest achievement, because we were like, we're doing something right. They want to come back to us now, and they're so happy and invested.
And they're saying, it's such a different company to the way it was the company everyone joined when it was great, just before it then started to
turned and grow.
There's a couple of really valid points there. One is that sustainable growth, and in order to actually build a business in a sustainable way, that you can actually put the infrastructure in place to maintain your culture, your values, and build upon that, but also the profitability, because sometimes you chase the revenue, that growth, but actually, like you say, you put too much cost in, and actually you're no longer more profitable because you're just chasing growth. But one of the things I do like is that sort of resetting the culture. And I think one of the things that can happen, which sounds like it might have happened there, is you guys have got a really clear idea in terms of what your values, your identity, how you want to do business. But as you've grown, rather than having that at the early stages really clearly defined, systemized, documented to bring people into that culture, you've almost ended up with 18 other people's individual cultures, then taken over the business culture that's not yours. It's a really hard thing to go backwards, like you say, you cut the team in half, go back to basics, build it back up again. So it's a really, really important lesson there.
Huge.
Values, culture, and all that sort of stuff are very often overlooked by small businesses, thinking they're for the big organizations, but they're invaluable when you're growing, because it's what people come to work for.
Absolutely. I mean, we'd have staff saying to us, what training have you got, and what's this, and what do you have to offer here? And we didn't have the answers. And also, we always say now, we did this business because we enjoyed recruitment, we enjoyed billing, we enjoyed selling, we enjoyed business. And when it got to the size it did get to, you're not doing that anymore.
It's a different job. Running a business is different.
And we were like, okay, we literally just manage now. We don't do anything else. Like, we don't
managing an unhappy team as well. And we didn't know. I mean, you'd had management positions, but I've never had management positions. So we weren't skilled or trained professionally on how to manage people. So we then created these roles for ourselves that we absolutely hated. And I think, at one point we were both embarrassed to own a business. And I think we could hold our hands up and say, people ask what I did for work, or, how's business. I was thinking, they aren't going to know how things are happening internally. But I was mortified. So we've crashed and burned, we're half the head count. But now I think we're proud to say, yes, we're half the size. We're actually more profitable. Our team are much happier. Even things like, we do monthly surveys, and that, don't get me wrong, it's not always going to be 100%, but everyone is so happy. And if there are things that, work-life balance maybe not be so good on 1 month, those are things that we'll listen to and will change. Whereas us back in 2020, 2021 would have gone, personal attack, they don't like us, ignore. Whereas now we're like, we actually need to listen to people. Employees are going to help us grow this business.
Without them, we haven't got a business.
The team will take your business further than you could ever do on your own. Yeah, absolutely. So what I like about that is you guys have come out the other side, because it's a really common thing where people grow, become a business where they're running a business and a team, which is a very different job to do in the industry you're in. Get into the same situation, but then think, actually, it's easier just to shrink back again and stay there, because I don't want the headaches of people. I don't want the headaches of growth, sort of thing. So actually then they stay as a small business. They don't really then own a business, they own a job. What you're talking about is actually you've learned from that, you've restructured, you've regrouped, you've created a better environment, you're going again in a more sustainable way. So well done. Credit where credit's due. It's a tough lesson to learn, I'm sure.
Well,
absolutely. We keep saying to ourselves, it's not a race. We have to take our time with these things. And where we were so, like I say, we were chasing the revenue and everything was looking amazing. Actually, there's so much more value in it. It's taken, 5 years now to get to that growth again, rather than over 6 months, but that's way more sustainable. So we're definitely learning to, we are 100 miles an hour, as you can probably tell, but we're learning to dial it down a little bit and actually pace ourselves and check ourselves.
I think you're trying to constantly as well prove yourself to others, which we were like, no, like, let's stop doing this, because when you open a business, you've got everybody saying to you, oh, most businesses in the first 2 years fail, and this percentage of businesses fail, this percentage does okay. And when we then won these contracts and we were on a roll and we were on this hiring spree, we're like, we've not failed, we've smashed it, we're up to nearly 20 staff, look at us. And it was like, in a way, like a very proud moment. But actually, behind the scenes, you'd had a really happy team some days or a really unhappy team the other days. Whereas now, actually, we're like, well, we have survived and the pandemic, but we've got half the headcount and they're so invested, they're like long-term staff that will grow with the company. So whoever comes in will be so bought into that culture straight away. And there's so many processes that we put in place as well to prevent anything happening.
I think it's business can be a roller coaster of emotions, challenges, opportunities, highs, lows, and all that sort of stuff. You've clearly come out the other side a lot stronger because of it. It is a challenging environment, but it's worthwhile. But if you build the right thing. Let's talk about time for a second then. So you're clearly both very, very invested in the business. You sort of sound like you're on it all the time. What about your personal time? How do you manage that? I don't want to say work-life balance, because that's kind of not the integration and personal time versus business time.
I think, being completely honest from our side, and we don't expect this from our staff, so we'll make that clear from the get-go. I think because we love what we do and we have so bought into it, we don't make time. Like, everything just has to fit in, and it's as one. And I think families are extremely supportive, partners are extremely supportive. Just even like juggling friends, weekends are very much dedicated to family and friends, and social life and enjoying time with people. Weekdays, it is work hard, play hard. But I think where we love what we do, and obviously we're very good friends outside of work as well. I think we naturally, when we see each other, we do talk work regardless.
We're like, we'll meet up and we won't talk work. And it just naturally falls into it because, like Sian said, we love what we do. It doesn't feel like work. And we don't expect our team to ever be, 100% on it, their whole life, because for them, their life is more important. This is our baby we've created. So, of course, we're going to dedicate our whole lives to it. But we are, and in the week time, we're very much work hard, play hard, work wherever, whenever. We don't have an office anymore. Our whole team is remote, and they all work on their own schedule. So whether they want to go for a 2-hour lunch with their friends in the middle of the day, whether they want to go to an exercise class and finish at 2 o'clock because they log on at 8 p.m, it's all about that flexibility.
It's organisation as well. I think a massive wake up call for me personally was I had my daughter back in January last year, and I was like, oh, how is she fitting into this then? Because my baby's RME. And it was one hell of a wake-up call. But once I formed a bit of a routine at home, it's very much, she's got her bedtime, she's got this, and I know where I'm at, so that I can then juggle life around it. And I think, like we said, if you love what you do, you don't feel that you are set on your hours. You make it work around other things like how well-being, gym classes, socializing, family, friends. So
building that personal time into the diary,
making the whole thing like in the week we'll then be going to do classes late morning because actually it's quiet. We can then do our class and then crack on with. So actually, we're not sat there tied to our desk between the hours of 9 to 5, 7 a.m. and midnight. We're working constantly, but then we're also enjoying life as well and having that balance. And older us probably would have actually had to go at ourselves to go into exercise class at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. But actually, it's so important because it's about mental health, well-being as well. And actually, another huge one of our favourite sayings is "Don't sweat the small stuff." That is our biggest saying on the back of what we've come out with.
Major the minor is one we use. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things where actually we now need to be not so hard on ourselves and give ourselves cut ourselves a little bit slack. We do put in a lot of work for the business, so taking an hour out to go for an exercise class, we are allowed to do that. So we've in turn not been so.
Staff have picked up on that, which is quite nice, and will say, "Oh, I've got this. Do you mind?" And we're like, "Yeah, fine." Like, you run your own desk, and they're so grateful for it. I think you actually get more back from people.
Sometimes that can be a bit of a challenge, can't it? Go from that corporate sort of 9 to 5 type environment and then becoming a business owner. And like you say, the guilt trips you have on walking the dog, going to the gym at 10 o'clock in the morning, I feel guilty because I should be in the office per se, sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotional challenges that go along with being a business owner, but there's also a lot of rewards there. So, you know, again, clearly you've identified those as you've gone along, recognise them, and then put things in place to overcome them rather than let them sort of control you or, you know, sort of beat you up, so to speak. So credit where credit's due. Well done. It sounds like you've got an amazing business. It sounds like there's an amazing future. Certainly lots of energy and passion coming through. Before we wrap up, where can our listeners go to find out a little bit more about what you're up to and get in touch if they want to reach out for?
So they can go to our website, RME Consultants.co.uk, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. We're pretty much all over the socials, and we're launching TikTok.
We are
very soon,
and we're sponsoring Seesaw charity in Oxford, which is all over our socials at the moment. So if anyone wants to click onto that, that'd be.
We have an exciting event coming up on the 22nd of June. So
TikTok will be interesting because it's killing it at the moment in terms of social sales and things like that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to watch.
We've got the team catch some TikTok content tomorrow.
Yeah, watch this space.
Good for you. Good for you. Listen, both of you, thank you ever so much again for taking the time out of the day to join us. It's been a really, really interesting chat. And yeah, thanks again.
Thanks, David.
Thanks,
Much appreciated.